in the darkest corners of the land of Termina, you will find a kingdom shrouded in darkness. And here, you will come across some strange and sinister artifacts. One of those is the Mirror Shield, an item that has been seen in many Zelda games. However, this time, it looks quite different. This version looks haunting due to the face on it. However, whose face is this? Why is it on the shield? Who created this item? And why is it screaming in agony? When we first enter the lands of Ikana on our quest to stop Majora's Mask, we notice how silent it is around here. This portion of the world is being suffocated in silence, and the only ones who roam these lands are the undead. Well, except for a few eccentric individuals. Now, when we explore these lands, we end up uncovering a very special item that is needed to reintroduce light to this world of darkness, the Mirror Shield. As we all know, it's super useful when taking on the castle, as well as the main dungeon here, the Stone Tower. And while streaming here on YouTube, somebody wondered what the story behind it is. So I jumped right into it, because I was very curious about this as well. Now, unlike the version seen in Ocarina of Time, which just has a symbol on it, here we see a huge face screaming either due to agony or anger. And overall, very little is known about it in the game. Really, the information was very scarce, but I was able to find some possible answers. And one of those is found in a special book that was released more than 7 years ago. Back then, Nintendo, together with Dark Horse, released a special set of books known as the Goddess Collection, filled with extra information about the game and how they were made. These books gave us the official timeline that we all know and some of us love, but this wasn't the only thing. In the encyclopedia on page 85, there's some extra information about the Mirror Shield. It says the following: the Mirror Shield in the parallel world of Termina has a face-like pattern, and the light it reflects carries the same image. It is hidden at the bottom of the well in Ikana Canyon and is required to explore Ikana Castle. It seems that the king of Ikana, who died in battle long ago, sought light in death, and that cry carried over into this shield. So, according to this source, the shield is linked to the former king of this land. But what exactly happened here then? Well, a lot actually. Long ago, these lands were populated by the mighty Ikana, citizens of a kingdom with untold might. And this fierce conflict is what led to their downfall. The rival nation attacked, sending cunning spies known as Gyros, empty cloaks, animated by willpower. Many battles ensued and their rivalry was intense, even powerful enough to keep them fighting after death. The kingdom is said to be stained with a history of darkness and drenched in blood, due to this fierce and long-lasting conflict. Due to this, many spirits who died during this conflict now haunt these lands. Even the Garo ninjas continue to gather intel on the afterlife and report to their superior. Meanwhile, Ikana Graveyard remains heavily protected by Ikana forces. It is even guarded by Captain Kita himself in life and in death. But we have no idea why they are stationed here. Maybe to protect the graves of the royal family? Or the many treasures and artifacts that are buried here? Who knows really? In general, it is unknown what exactly happened here, but we do get some information from the now undead king of these forgotten lands. According to him, the quarrels among his men was a significant factor that led to the destruction of the kingdom, which makes me believe that it was also, in many ways, an attack from within, one filled with corruption, lies, and betrayal, which fits perfectly with the Garo spies who were most likely orchestrating this. However, aside from this, very little is known. Well, except for that one quote I mentioned before. It seems that the king of Ikana, who died in a battle long ago, sought light in death, and that cry carried over into the shield. It could be that during the war with this other nation, the king was killed using a form of powerful dark magic, cursing him. This could have even led to the whole curse on the kingdom, and this shield was most likely used by him during the fight where it all went wrong. During his last desperate moments, a part of him, seeking the light, led to the creation of the Mirror Shield, the one artifact that was monumental role in saving this land from darkness after these events, with Link being capable of lifting the curse on the kingdom thanks to it. Even the king realized this when he was defeated and taught Link the Elegy of Emptiness, which was the last thing he needed to complete his quest. All of this fits perfectly and rounds out the story incredibly well. However, Link wasn't the only one who attempted to help this doomed kingdom. When we rescue Pamela's father from his curse, we get our hands on the Gypto mask, a crucial item if you want to survive the horrors found at the bottom of the well seen in Ikana Canyon. It is filled to the brim with Gyptos, and if you don't watch out, you will become cursed just like Pamela's father, who also went down there. Now, at the bottom of this well, you will have to fight and bargain your way through loads of enemies and demanding Gyptos, with the reward at the end being the legendary mirror shield. However, there are also tales out there of others who ventured down these corridors. As most of you know, Pamela's father researches all kinds of weird phenomenon and legends in Ikana Canyon, and so he knows quite a lot about this place. And after freeing him from his curse, he tells of another story involving the mirror shield. There's a tale in Ikana of a treasure that rests at the bottom of the well on the hilltop. It seems that the spirits of those who became Gyptos upon entering the well in search of that treasure still linger inside. Now, that is all he says about it, but the treasure he mentions here must be the mirror shield. That's the only thing you can really find down there after all. So clearly, many went looking for this shield, but none ever succeeded, and all of them became cursed Gyptos. But could it be that the shield itself played a role in this? Many people online link this story to the potential creation of the shield itself. Maybe the mirror shield trapped their souls inside of it after they found the artifact and looked into it, leading to a horrifying face on the shield, while turning these cursed adventurers into the Gyptos we find down here. In many ways, this would be similar to what happened to the king, but this time random adventurers came into contact with this item. It could even be that a similar thing happened to Pamela's father, because when he is returned to normal, he does say, "I even tried to go into that well once myself." Strangely enough though, I don't remember anything that happened down there. So really, anything is possible. However, this doesn't really explain how the shield was able to do this and where it really came from. So while this is an option, and at least shows that Link wasn't the only one who tried to hunt down this shield, it doesn't have much going for it. But there's another compelling option out there that could very well be true. And for this one, we have to look at one of the shadiest characters in the franchise, the Happy Mask Salesman. The big man himself. A person, or potentially deity, that is almost always mentioned in any video involving this game and their theories. For many, he's a character who is there to guide and help you, while others see him as the ultimate secret villain of the game. In the end, we don't know what is true, and that is what makes the Happy Mask Salesman a truly fascinating character. And of course, there's a connection between this strange man and the mirror shield. On his backpack, he has a number of masks, which makes sense because he is a mask seller and collector, and most of them are just fun little Easter eggs. For example, this mask of Mario, which is nothing more than a fun reference. But there's another mask that might actually have some form of meaning. On the left of his backpack, you will see a mask that looks quite familiar, because it is actually the exact same face as the one seen on the mirror shield. So there seems to be some sort of connection between him and this ominous shield found all the way in Ikana Canyon. Now, there are multiple ways to look at this. One option could be that the mask and shield were created at the same time by the Happy Mask Salesman, trapping a spirit into two different artifacts, splitting them up in a way. Maybe because this individual was a threat to the world, but it could also be that the Happy Mask Salesman did this because he just wanted to add it to his collection, regardless of whether this was a right or wrong thing to do. We know this man has some strange magical powers. Throughout the game, he seems to teleport around. He can conjure items out of nothing, knows about strange magical songs, and even disappears at the end of the game. But it could be that the person trapped in the shield and mask was somebody else's victim. We encounter a Deku who clearly met a terrible fate. His soul was stolen, and Link was trapped in his body until the Happy Mask salesman freed him from this curse, leading to the creation of the Deku Mask. It could be that a similar thing happened here with this mask and the mirror shield, with the Happy Mask salesman helping, leading to the creation of these items. Now there are a lot of options and very little clues, which is a bit of a problem because we are left with a lot of questions. We have no idea why it can be found in Ikana Canyon and whose face it really is. Well, it might not be from an actual person in-game, or some sort of evil curse, because there's another, more logical answer. There are two other options we can look at that are much simpler. First of all, it could be that the face on the shield is just a logo or crest of the Ikana Kingdom. In the past, we've seen other logos on the mirror shield, like in Ocarina of Time where the Gerudo symbols can be found on it. But unlike the spiritual Gerudo symbols, the Ikana decided to go for something more fierce and intimidating. This would certainly create fear in any soldier confronted with such a shield, and this is a legit war tactic that was also used in the real world. For example, gigantic armor sets that made you look a lot bigger and more imposing, or face paint which was supposed to scare you. Creating fear and lowering the morale of your opponent can be the difference between losing and winning a battle. And like I mentioned before, the Ikana have a dark history that is drenched with blood, so it could be that they were once great conquerors, with the shield being a symbol of this. But that would also mean that this shield is not special at all. It just has a shiny finish and an intimidating screaming face on it. However, maybe there's no real in-game explanation at all. Instead, the shield symbolizes the emotional state of the player and even the developers. As we all know, Majora's Mask is a very emotional game, with every state being represented in it, while these characters try to grasp the concept of their own mortality. And it could be that the shield represents the emotional state that the game wants to portray at that point. Utter doom, despair, and even anger, with the land of Ikana being filled with darkness, aggression, and trauma. The entire land is scarred after all. But while both the player and character in the game feel these emotions, the developers went through a similar thing. As most of you know, the development cycle of Majora's Mask was utter hell. They only had a year and the pressure was immense, to say the least. A lot of this ended up in the game. For example, a nightmare of director Eiji Ayanuma can be seen at the very beginning. He famously experienced intense nightmares during development, driven by the extreme pressure of producing a sequel in just a single year. And he recalled a vivid nightmare where he was chased by a Deku and woke up screaming. So maybe this shield, that is also clearly screaming, is another one of Ayanuma's nightmares ending up in the game. Or it could be a representation of another developer's feelings while working on this game. And in general, this take isn't really new. The people who made The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask really went through hell to deliver one of the most unique Zelda experiences ever made. But in the end, the mystery is not really solved. But we do have a lot of potential answers. And this wasn't the only Zelda theory that we recently tackled. We also looked at the infamous Mirror of Twilight from The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess and whether it could be fixed. So if you want to know more about that, be sure to check out the video. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Be sure to become a member today to get all kinds of extra perks, like me answering all your comments, being featured in the credits, getting videos early, special emojis for live streams, and much more. Subscribe and click the bell button, because all of that really helps the channel. And again, if you have any suggestions or anything, leave them in the comments, because I do check them out.